let's talk about what we should eat to feed the endocannabinoid system, because again, this is the key to nutrition. Let me make it real simple and break it down just as simply as we can, because this is what we need for the endocannabinoid system, but this is also just what you need for a cell. And again, if you just break this down to what a cell needs dietary fat, first of all. That's how we run. We can run on sugar, so you can run on carbohydrates, but it's 50 times less efficient, literally. So, your mitochondria will run on glucose, and that's basic, very default mode. Mitochondria will run on fat. That's 50 times more efficient. So again, if I'm an athlete, that's where I want to be. If I'm worried about sickness, if I have cancer, that's where I want to be. If I'm worried about my immune system, I want to be up here and 50 times more efficient. Every time we eat a meal, whop, we go over here into glucose mode for 5 hours, okay? So right off, we want to eat less. So we want to confine our eating down to a short window, because we don't want to live over here like we do most of the time. You've got no way to fight cancer here. You've got 2 ways to fight cancer here. You've got somewhat of an immune system, but we're just defenseless against hook-rounded pinworms and pylori and COVID and all this stuff that wants to affect us over here. Over here, we've got shields, man. We've got a 50 times stronger immune system, right?
Talk a little bit more about that, both on the undefended side versus the defended side. Do you mean because if we're not eating through large windows of time, you mentioned the 4-hour window, is that because the gut lumen has time to empty from food and there's an acid mantle protecting us there? Or talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, our bodies really have these big states, right, that we first of all have to be concerned with. So I'm glad you brought this up. So we have a circadian state, okay, and your CB1 neuroreceptors in your body will express around circadian rhythms, okay? So there's times when you have
True.
more and times when you have less. So we have to, so if you're looking at the gut and what's going on at the gut, well, if you have more CB1 neuroreceptors expressed in your gut, you're going to be hungry. And the more you express, the hungrier you're going to get. Okay, so that matters. And again, if you're looking at intermittent fasting, well, I know about 3 hours after I wake up that I'm going to start expressing more CB1 neuroreceptors. So I'm likely going to feel like I'm hungry, but I may not be hungry. I may not really need nutrients, right? So, right off the bat, you kind of need to know that. And then, we need to know the consequences of eating, because you have like 2 major ways that you function: a way that you function right after you ate, and a way that you function 5 hours after you ate. And your body, if you start eating sugar stuff, so carbohydrates, your body has to set a tone, because the way that you deal with those, the way that you digest them, the way that you take them and put them into your bloodstream, the way that you store them as glycogen is completely different than over here in fats. Over here in fats, I've got to release a bunch of bile acids. I've got to emulsify those fats. So again, just by the composition of the meal that you ate, you're setting 2 different states. So we have to begin to understand these things and really design our inputs around what is, let's say, the least cost, most benefit to our body. And it's more than just here, Dr. Jake, take this pill, you'll feel better. So Ozempic is not going to get us there, with obesity. We have to sort of take all these other considerations and factors into our equation for how we help people.
And it goes back to Hippocrates, the ancient Greek father of modern medicine. Food is the best medicine.
Food is programming,
and in naturopathic medicine, we always say for chronic disease, you must treat the gut. And it's been fascinating for me because I've been a little over 20 years now since I've been in practice. So I've seen a full generation, really, if you think of it that way. When I first got out of medical school, they thought we were kooks talking about these gut bacteria. They literally thought we were kooks. And that's fine. But complex patient, simple treatment, uh, adequate rest, diet, which is critical because those are the bricks in the building blocks. And you got to move the machine. So exercise is important as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about exercise crossover with endocannabinoid system, or should we keep going down the food highway here?
We'll talk about whatever you want, but exercise is, if you look at like how to optimize yourself, again, I get better when you starve me. Okay, I get
See,
better.
so let's talk about that because I think I'm a little behind you on this because I'm a big guy and I have still a lot of muscles that are hungry, and I get hungry and I feel hungry. Now, I know physiologically speaking, caffeine, which is what I'm drinking now, with caffeine, you can caffeine will make you feel like your blood sugar is low, but it could still be normal. So caffeine, the coffee and donuts, right? The caffeine makes me feel like I have a little bit of low blood sugar. I want it, but if you test my blood sugar, it's not low. So
Mhm.
I don't know if that's a thing, but I'll let you riff on this because I'm just here and I'm taking notes and
So,
enjoying this, Chip, very much.
oh, me too. So this is great. I love doing this. But so you kind of have these two systems inside of you, right? You have kind of this glucose system and you have this lipid fat-based system, right? And again, this goes back to mitochondria and fuel. We're designed over here. We're designed to run over here, but we can default, over here to sugar. So if you look at energy and kind of, if you're a high performance athlete, let's say, what should I feed you and what's important? Well, the first thing is fats, and not really short chain fats or trans fats. So it's got to be stuff that comes out of a plant, which is saturated fat, and that's saturated fat is important. It's not as important as monounsaturated fat, which we don't eat enough of. So those two things we should kind of eat in balance. And saturated fat is inflammatory. So when it breaks down into endocannabinoids, it's breaking down and in your immune system, escanoids, it's breaking down into things that cause inflammation. Monounsaturated fat is the other side of that, let's say. So as monounsaturated fat breaks down, it breaks down into anti-inflammatories, and it's more anti-inflammatory fat.